And once Mr. Ganesh, as I said, he's a political analyst, comes political scientist, so to say, and he has himself done immense work in various sectors. And I would like him to talk a little about himself and about his purview for today's conference. Mr. Ganesh.
Yeah. Members of the Indian Chamber of Commerce and Culture, Slovakia, members of the Policy Times, and my esteemed fellow panelists. Thank you for having me here today. A little bit about me. So I have worked as a young professional for the government of Andhra Pradesh with the Department of Municipal Administration and Urban Development, where I contributed in studying existing systems, identifying the gaps, and providing institutional support in policy formulation and implementation in the urban sector. So currently I'm working at Polity College, overseeing business, campaign management, and team building. So I'm also a founding team member of Yuvata, a developmental NGO. I'm looking after its education vertical. I'm also an independent public policy researcher with a keen interest in the social sector, technology, public health, governance, and state capacity. So over the next few minutes, I'll be talking about 5 trends that have emerged at the intersection of the state, market, and society, and navigate through how professionals are solving the problems of one of the major stakeholders of governance, which is the politician. So the first trend is the role of state as a primary player in the economy and society has been becoming that of a facilitator. This is an interrelated trend because on one hand, the state is stepping down and allowing market to take over various sectors of the economy and society. However, the state's developmental agenda has been continuing. State is spending a lot on people who are not covered under the market-led growth process. Now, this is necessary because people need to have the purchasing power. And there is also increasing monetization of state-owned assets to spend on development. The second trend is the idea of multiple players. So there is a plurality of institutions, both government and corporate. So a variety of public-private partnerships have emerged in the market and in the social sector. So the third trend is emergence of think tanks. So there is so these think tanks prepare agenda for the government and also do the advocacy work. The fourth trend is the size of market is increasing, and people can only survive if they have assets and capabilities. So it is the responsibility of the state to enhance the capabilities of people who in turn can get the assets. And the fifth trend is emergence of professionals in domains of legislation and governance, which were traditionally restricted to just political and permanent bureaucracy. So remember, if you recall, I said earlier that politician is an important stakeholder in this process. So being a politician is a 24-hour job. They have to do legislative work, development work, political party work, and also have to attend several social commitments in their constituencies and beyond. However, politicians don't do any work. It's the most heard phrase. So one of the major reasons that we could think of is the grassroots disconnect because of the busy schedules of the politicians. So let me give you an example. The Indian National Congress Party, which is the major political party instrumental in getting India's independence, has been diminishing from several states and is not in power at the center because it has lost the grassroots connect. On the other hand, back in 2003, in the United State of Andhra Pradesh, when the Congress Party was in a bad shape, its leader, late Dr. Y.S. Rajashekar Reddy, went on a walkathon. So he walked for 1,460 kilometers in blistering summer and established grassroots connect with the public. This not only helped his party coming into power by dethroning a strong incumbent government led by the Telugudesam party, but also his connect is such powerful that his son, Mr. Y.S. Jagan, who has established a party on his name, has carried Dr. Rajashekar Reddy's legacy and won mandate in the successor state of Andhra Pradesh. Of course, he too had worked hard to establish the grassroots connect with the public through a walkathon. So let me give you a snapshot of the Indian electoral scenario. In 2019, there are 90 crore, which means about 1 billion eligible voters in India spread across 10 lakh or 1 million polling booths. So there are 543 elected parliamentarians and 4,121 elected members of state assemblies. On an average, there are 17 lakh or 1.7 million voters for every parliamentarian and roughly 2.5 lakh voters for every assembly member. For a perspective, in the United Kingdom, for every parliamentarian, there are just about 72,000 voters. And in South Africa, the number is 66,000. So each assembly constituency and each parliamentary constituency is a unique problem statement because of the diversity of the country. Every election is a sales pitch and gives a chance for the politician to present a vision. So, but politicians face several problems. For instance, a new entrant is confused where to contest from. A seasoned politician faces a double whammy of anti-incumbency and competition from the young leaders of the same party. Today, professionals are helping politicians in legislation, governance, and political campaign management. Our organization, Political Edge, has been solving the problems of politicians and political parties for the past 16 years with data-driven election strategies, campaign management, and communication to continuously reach out to voters and keep the grassroots connect intact. We work at the grassroots level and collect data, give insights to the politicians and political parties. So once upon a time, political decisions used to be taken based on gut feeling, but now we have moved towards data-based decision making. So in the past 16 years, we have worked on around 1 billion data points. So we conceptualize and execute campaigns based on the insights from the data. We train party volunteers on electioneering, social media usage, and communication. Because party workers are the foot soldiers for politicians and political parties, and they can literally make or break the elections. So we believe that our professional support empowers politicians and in turn strengthens the democracy. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Ganesh, for an idea of the way the political portion goes, the way the some of the grassroots problems you are trying to solve. And we will come back again on this in terms of governance, in terms of the way this can take a country to the next dimension. Now, let's end this. So with that in mind, now let me have our second Mr. Ganesh to have few words from the governance angle and how these political systems also can be oriented to governance and how they would like to contribute and how well prepared they are from a typical, I would not like to use the word vote bank politics, but vote bank politics which is generally going for. Mr. Ganesh, please.
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. So since 75 years of independence, India has traveled a long way. So one of the major aspect of it is, we have a strong constitution, which has been, which was the outcome of several discussions from various quarters of various sections of the society. So that has been our guiding book when it comes to governance. And we also had, so we also have adopted several things. So based on the requirement of the day. So when it comes to today's world, so what is needed is to be grounded to the to be grounded and to listen to the aspirations of the people, because essentially any public policy or for that matter any program or a scheme of government will be successful only when it meets the aspirations of the people. And so I believe that people people are rational thinkers and they know what they want. So sometimes, yes, we tend to be carried away by emotions because we are human beings. But then when it comes to decisions with respect to our lives, so we are the best judges of it. And we have an idea of what we want from the government. So, and like I have discussed in my previous talk, that market is now taking over the economics and social sector. So what happens is several people who are capable of getting the growth fruits of growth from the market-led development are being developed. But then there are several people who are still left out of the the growth which is led by the market forces. So, and government has to intervene to provide fruits of development for them. If you see the voting patterns also, what happens is essentially we find out that rural areas the voting percentage is higher than when it comes to urban areas, because more and more rural people are dependent on the various schemes and policies of government. So, and then coming back to our discussion about governance, so it should be evidence-based. So, so initially we had, Central Planning Commission, which used to plan from the top, and it used to take a stock of what all resources are available in India from across various states, and what is the resources with respect to, I mean, human resources as well as material resources are available in India, and then it used to make schemes and implement them. But now we have a paradigmatic shift. We now have a think tank which formulates strategy documents, and based on these strategy documents, various state governments as well as the central government comes up with some plans and schemes to implement, so that there is an effective use of resources and effective use of financial and material resources. So going forward, it is there is one more huge branch of economics called behavioral economics. So we have to have behavioral insights of public policy while making policies, and also in the governance process of the implementing policies. We also have to have a robust monitoring and evaluation systems put in place, so that whenever there is a pilot policy, we have to implementation of policy on a pilot basis. We need to have to understand. So what is the success of it? And then only we can roll out such kind of policies on a pan India or pan state basis. So there are still certain kind of policies which are being implemented, like you have pointed out, because of so-called vote bank politics. So unfortunately, what happened was, initially, so there were certain sections of society which needed upliftment. So so what happened was, various political parties, they found such sections of societies as they made them their vote banks by providing certain kinds of incentives, certain financial incentives, then material incentives, and so on. And even unfortunately, that trend is continuing even today. But what happens is, what I see is going forward. So we as political consultants, what we try to do is we try to find out what the needs of people are at the grassroots level. So needs of people means with respect to education, health, roads, infrastructure, and women's issues and youth related issues, all these things. And we try to provide all these insights to the politicians and political parties, so that they can make proper plans and implement, announce certain kind of policies which are which match with the realities of the ground level. And also, and we believe that such kind of policies and schemes, they'll have some high success rate, as well as they uplift people from the standard of living of people will be improved if such kind of policy regime comes into place. So that's what I think about it.
Thank you. Thank you. Now let me invite.
I was into political consulting and PR, and that was part of our thing. And that was like, what, 14, 15 years back. And in those last 14, 15 years, there is a sea of change and everything. Even 20 years back, 30 years back, 40 years back, political consulting as a profession has been there. But it didn't have a very strong and a very formal shape and a face as an industry. And now we are having many political consulting startups which are coming up, and they are much driven by a lot of technology. They have an entire team of data scientists, to people who are working on AI, to people who are collecting feedback. There are apps and there are social media applications which are collecting data and a lot of things. So I have been slightly out of touch of the industry in the last couple of years or so, not very active. But a lot has happened, especially in the last 2 to 3 years. Especially, there are certain political consulting groups and consultants who are doing really well nationally, as well as repeating successes in certain eastern states. So I would like to invite Ganesh to tell a little bit something about the operational end of things. How things work nowadays, and you guys use technology, or what are the practices you adopt, which were a far contrast from what used to happen 12, 13, 14 years later, where where literally in our team everybody was a fellow. I mean, the word fellow is used in political consulting is basically bhagta hua banda who's not got much experience, but who is basically doing all the labor job. But now we have experienced professionals. So Ganesh, could you just throw some light on that a little bit to everybody?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, Sumit. So, like I have mentioned in my talk also earlier, so there is a rise of professionals helping politicians in legislation. So we have several types of fellowships coming up. So there are lots of professionals helping out in governance. So various state governments and as well as the Niti Aayog has a program for taking help of professionals from various spheres of life. And like you have pointed out, professionalism in the political consulting space is booming up now. So with the advent of technology and with the advent of sophistication, so what happened is nowadays there is a fierce competition in the political domain. So between political parties and between political candidates, there is a very tough, fierce competition. So politics is all about winning. There is no second place in politics, right? You win or I mean, without any win, will have to wait for 5 more years, 5 more long years when it comes to politics. So what happens is we try to implement a certain management principles to traditional political science and this policy to kind of generate insights which can help politicians as well as political parties to take decisions which can benefit them in the elections. So we also use technology. So with the advent of mobile phones as well as cheap data plans, so everybody has a mobile in their hand. So we try to reach on mobiles of majority of voters through whatever media. For example, we with short videos, it can be creatives, it can be small texts, it can be memes. So we reach them to kind of set a narrative, set an agenda, and then secondly we also collect data from the ground to gauge the incumbency levels on the current government, both state as well as the center. And also on the sitting MLAs and MPs. And then we also try to understand what is the perception of people with respect to there will be several politicians in a particular assembly or parliamentary constituency. We would try to understand the perception of the people, and also we try to collect information about the development work happened in the constituency in the past 5-6 years. And we try to understand what are the problems existing. So because like I have said, each assembly constituency and each parliamentary constituency has its own set of problems. No two parliamentary constituencies or no two assembly constituencies are similar. Even the same assembly constituency will have different set of problems 5 years down the lane, right? So it is important for a politician and a political party to understand what is happening on the ground, and they have to come up with plans and strategies to fight the elections. So like I also have mentioned, so we have different sets of modules, as you can say, or certain things which we can work out with politicians and political parties. So for instance, like I mentioned in the previous talk, so political party volunteers, they literally make or break elections. I said this because I would like to explain that, because essentially a senior political leader from the party or the official candidate of the party may reach out to each booth. So for example, in a typical assembly constituency, on an average there will be around 200 to 250 booths in India, and in parliamentary constituency it will be around somewhere around 1100 to 1700 or 1800. So reaching each and every booth will be difficult, but only political volunteers can have the reach of all these booths. So that's why we try to train them, try to nurture them with respect to the entire election process. We try to train them with respect to communication, as to what to communicate and how to communicate. And also nowadays, what happened is there is advent of social media. Social media has become powerful in certain narratives and setting agendas. There are a lot of campaigns happening over social media. In fact, more than any campaign happening on ground, today we have several campaigns on social media. So it is essential for leader as well as his cadres and political volunteers to be trained in social media aspect of it. So with the culmination of all this, we are with the communication, technology, data, data analysis and strategy. So we are now designing campaigns and executing them on ground.